Okay, calm down.
I want to know your thoughts on the presidential race. There's obviously a lot of discussion about Genocide Joe, about Kamala. Some people think she's going to be a lot better on Palestine. Some people are considering voting third party, and then people say, "Oh, great, that's a vote for Trump." What are your thoughts on this election?
In running as an independent, Katie, I have really stayed out of recommending people go this way or that way. People are going to vote how they're going to vote. But I will say this: we have to focus on the economic needs of the American people. And those needs are totally separated from continual war. We have to stop the endless wars. It's the endless wars that have blown a hole in the budget. I mentioned it before, 8 trillion of the $35 trillion debt has added to the deficit. We have to stop thinking of America ruling the world. There's no point in it. Do we need to defend ourselves? Yes. But we need to know the difference between defense and offense. I mean, I was third string quarterback in a not very good varsity football team, and I sure know the difference between defense and offense. And the United States has aided offensive attacks around the world. We have to stop this. It's costing us dearly. We should be able to have every young person be able to look forward to going to college or having advanced training in trades. We should be able to not have homelessness in this country. Young people should be able to look forward to owning a home of their own someday. They can't do that now. They're lucky down the road to have rent. People are the things that we identified as part of the American dream have become diaphanous, and all of a sudden it just fades. And then what's left? But what? The pretense that somehow we're the king of the world. It's all vanity. We need to focus on rebuilding our basic industries, steel, automotive, aerospace, which help produce a middle class. We need to get away from this financialization of the economy, which is all flim flam, and make things again in this country. We need to change the trade agreements to make sure that workers' rights, human rights, environmental quality principles are part of our trade agreements. We need to return to an America which was the vanguard of freedom for the world. But when you start losing your economic freedom, the loss of political freedom isn't going to be far away. And this is what we're looking at if we don't change directions. And so whether the Republicans win or the Democrats win in terms of the presidency, these fundamental economic issues have to be dealt with. And the foreign policy issues that help circumscribe those economic issues have to be dealt with, or the United States is going to be in decline because of bad leadership.
Speaking of freedom, can you talk about the spying under FISA that you referred to earlier in our discussion?
Yes, I mean what FISA has done is basically permit the United States government to be able to look into the affairs of individuals without a warrant. There were members of Congress who tried to amend the FISA bill to say, okay, you want to find out what a person's doing, get a warrant. No, it goes back to the passage of the Patriot Act and the extension of FISA, which allowed for so-called national security letters so that anybody in the FBI could just write a piece called a national security letter and then go ahead and spy on somebody, wiretap, or use any other surreptitious activity. To me, the Constitution of the United States needs to be held inviolate. Instead, what we're seeing is the right to be free of unreasonable search and seizure ripped up. The right to free speech torn up. I mean, when you see what's going on in campuses, how campuses, which should be the catalyst of ideas, the effervescent movement of protest and exchange of the catalytic thinking of these young people, all of a sudden squashed, shut down, no protest. You say anything, you're out. What is that about? It's about the shredding of our Constitution is what it's about. And, we need to remember who we are as the United States of America. We need to go back to the basic principles upon which this country was founded. I'm not talking about the social situation. I'm talking about legally what a constitution meant. And we're getting away from that. And FISA was one of the things that enables the government to start to find out a little bit more about people and to spy on them. And you look at the twinning of the government and the private sector with respect to internet, such as the Twitter files, censorship. What are we talking about here? How I mean, you look at people like Scott Ritter, how how the foreign agent, how FARA is being used against Scott Ritter. You look at how the Homeland Security tracking Tulsi Gabbard and assigning a coterie of minders to her when she tries to fly. What in God's green acre is happening in our country when you've got citizens who are just trying to be of service or who are and have been of service, who are connected, actually, in this case, with military service, dedicating their lives to America, and all of a sudden they're suspect? This is dangerous. This is very dangerous. We have to respect each other as Americans again, quit accusing each other of being un American, and come to a place where we can have an honest and rational debate about the direction of our country without smearing each other. And this is something that I'm very concerned about, and I feel that there's a virulent strain of debate right now going on that is taking America down a philosophical and a moral cul-de-sac. And I stand resolutely for the Constitution and resolutely for the Bill of Rights, so that people realize that we can once again claim who we are as Americans. We're not servants of the government. The government should be our servant.
You tweeted something out a couple days ago. It's about Nord Stream, which is getting some attention once again, not, of course, by the corporate media. Mario Knopfel tweeted out, German MP, Ukraine must pay for damage to Nord Stream pipelines. Alice Weidel has called for Ukraine to compensate Germany for the damage caused to its economy as a result of the attack. And you're right, by the time the German government admits who really blew up the pipeline, they won't be the German government anymore. So can you elaborate on that?
The explosion in Nord Stream is being turned into kind of an international game of Clue, like Zelensky did it with a six drug divers in a yacht. Look, my mother used to read to me when I was a kid. She read to me fairy tales. Okay, I'm not letting any government read fairy tales to me about who blew up Nord Stream. There's only one country that had the skill and to be able to execute something like this so perfectly. And we should take credit where credit is due, just as a member of the Polish government assigned credit to our dear nation. Yeah. The question is, how do we stop the world from getting blown up right now? Now, Germany has to worry because as a result of the blowing up of Nord Stream, their major source of oil was cut and the energy prices went through the roof. The government's in trouble. And so to now blame Zelensky, I mean, that's very interesting. That means Germany's not going to give Zelensky any more arms if they can claim that it's a good, it works for Germany. But the truth of the matter is that Germany has been caught in a vice between the ambitions of an America that wants to use NATO as a foil against Russia, and it's really, very sad. So when I saw that remark come out by Mario Knopfel, I thought, the German government ought to knows what happened, and they're just trying to find ways of staking out a middle ground so they don't get wiped out in the next election.
And can you just kind of spell out who you think actually was responsible for Nord Stream and why?
I don't think that anyone else could have done it, but in concert with our own agencies in the United States. It just doesn't happen that way. People, the one narrative that was given is, six divers on a yacht. No way, Jose. This is something that involved an extraordinary amount of planning, intelligence, technical skill, people that that have tremendous underwater experience in demolition. You know, there's only one country in the world that is absolutely the best at that,